I'm an alcoholic, and wow, it's really cool to get to Zoom halfway across the world and be with you all this evening. Thanks, Phil, and my good buddy Ben. Where are you, Ben? I know you're there somewhere. Love you, buddy. Yeah, it's awesome to be zooming into Tennessee this evening. I have a sobriety date, which is May the 27th of 1994. I have a home group, which is the Caringbah Unity Group here in Sydney, Australia, which is a strong three legacy group. And I was struck sober by God's grace. It's always important for me to remember that this thing doesn't happen by me, that it happens through me, that I get to stay sober today. Some of you might all be thinking, wow, gee, listen to that guy's accent. It's so cool. I just want to report that you are the people who have the accents. I don't have an accent. I speak normal. So I just want to report that. The other thing I'd like to report is that I'm Zooming to you from Sunday, from your future. I just want to report that tomorrow is an amazing day. The sun comes up, the birds are singing. You have nothing to worry about. Tomorrow is a beautiful day. And I know most of you are recovered, so you don't have any sort of envy or greed issues anymore. So you're not sitting at home like I used to do before I became recovered, wishing that you could win the lotto. But if there are any really ill people in the audience today, send me a link and in the chat, and I'll send you through tomorrow's lottery numbers so that you've got them as well, just in case you want them. Most of you recovered people, you know that money doesn't fix what's wrong with us, but I'm happy to help. It is pretty awesome that a global pandemic in all of the problems, all of the serious issues that has brought us, that it has opened up this world of Alcoholics Anonymous, that I've been able to do one meeting a week in the US since about March, and that's pretty cool. That we were able to get into Zoom meetings at my home group within about a week or so of this pandemic hitting us and us being pushed into lockdown, like I know all of you have been. And you know, the energy and the innovation of an alcoholic knowing that we need Alcoholics Anonymous to stay sober, and seeing everyone come together has been awesome. And I can see lots of friends on the Zoom here, on the platform here today as well, and people who are Zooming to you from even further into the future. I see Tony from New Zealand, and some guys over in Western Australia, Lyndon and Paul, and Rangi from here in Sydney, and a few other guys. I see my beautiful friend Ralph. They were talking about you before, Ralph. Ring me after this meeting's finished. I'll tell you what they said. It wasn't good. It wasn't good, man. No, it was all good. I have a sponsor, and even though he's 53 years sober, he still has a sponsor, and I sponsor others, and it's, as I said before, a real honour and a privilege to be asked to participate in this meeting, in any meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I thank you guys for asking me to come out. It's my job to not only present the solution, but to give you a little bit of a background on me, to tell you what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. And I don't know how you drank, but the first time I drank, that thing lit me up. It just coloured me in. I took a 50-50 mix of Scotch whiskey and cola and pointed that thing to the sky and drank as much as I could. And I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but my Lord, it fixed everything that was broken inside of me in about 5 seconds flat. It filled me in. It made me feel warm and fuzzy. This thing happened on my face. I think you would call it a smile. I started giggling my butt off, spinning around in circles, having the best time of my life. Indeed, I reckon it was the first spiritual experience of my life. It freed me. And, I didn't have those words, but it freed me. And looking back, I can see clearly what it freed me from today, but I didn't know what was locking me up at the time. Self-centered fear, self-hatred, shame, all those things that were keeping me locked up on the inside. Booze just, the biggest thing that kept me locked up was me thinking about what you thought about me from a really young age. And that day, man, I found that booze, and I also found this new attitude. It was called, I don't give a rat's what you think about me. It wasn't that I thought that I was better than you. I just didn't care what you thought anymore. And that was the most freeing thing I'd ever experienced up until that point. The problem for me, if it was like that all the time and I just stuck to myself, I'd probably still be doing it. But I'm an antisocial drunk. When Bill talks about the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I get to identify with that. Very antisocial. I'm the guy that is shooting pool with you down the bar, having a giggle, having fun, and 5 minutes later I'm in your face. You don't know why I'm in your face. I don't know why I'm in your face. I just know you're wrong and you have to pay. I'm the guy stealing your car keys. I didn't think it was stealing. I thought it was just borrowing at the time. Stealing your girlfriend, stealing your drugs, stealing your money. My absolute favorite was stealing your booze. It's not all sort of aggressiveness. I'm also the guy that, you'll be just, having a fun time, drinking a few drinks, and all of a sudden there's Darren again, naked, flashing everyone, running through the party. Like I'm just a Fruit Loop, absolute Fruit Loop whenever I get on the lunatic soup. And that's the best description for alcohol for me, lunatic soup. And I know that a lot of you didn't drink like that necessarily, but that's how I drank. Being so antisocial and not caring what you think about me, that extends to bosses, parents, friends, girlfriends. Unfortunately, that extends to authority figures. I don't care what the police think about me. I don't care what the government thinks about me. When I'm drunk, I'm just having a ball and not caring about you at all. And I'm the guy that's drinking and runs out of booze. And I have to say I didn't run out of booze very often. But when I was young, I ran out of booze a couple of times and, kicks in the front glass door of the local bottle shop after closing time. And the other kids that were with me grabbed 2 bottles and run. Not me, man. I'm flipping lids, having this one, flipping lids, having that one, because I just don't care. The sirens are going in the distance and I'm still flipping lids, having fun in that bottle shop. I'm the guy that, decides that, for a bet that, I want to find out whether or not the local police will come out of their police station and chase me if I do donuts in my stolen car out the front of the police shop. Come and ask me after the meeting. I've got an answer for whether they come and chase you. I've also got an answer for what they do when they catch you. They don't like that very much at all. And that's how I drank. And some of you might be nodding, going, yeah, that's how I drank. I identify. That's alcoholism. Yeah, some of you might be. Yeah. But is it alcoholism? I'd like to ask you whether that's alcoholism. Because I don't think it is. I think it's a really good indication that this young kid's got a problem. But I don't think it's alcoholism. how I behave when I'm intoxicated has nothing to do with alcoholism. Indeed, if we grab some people from our history, people that we would never imagine would behave poorly, someone like Mother Teresa, you pour a pint of whiskey into her, I'll guarantee you she'll start behaving funny. She may not get violent, but she might get overly friendly. We start behaving funny when we drink to intoxication. That's what happens. It's a drug. It drugs us and we start behaving funny. So if that's not alcoholism, I need to find out what is, and we'll come back to that. By the time I arrived with you, I'd been charged for nearly 30 criminal offences, not because I'm clever, not because I'm a master criminal. Clearly, master criminals probably don't get caught. I'm just a lunatic. I'm getting charged for DWI all the time. I'm getting charged for car stealing and breaking into bottle shops. I'm getting charged with, petty crime like stealing booze or borrowing someone's car. And by the time I'm 21 years of age, I've had enough. I want off the planet. I feel like I'm the last, the lost and the least. There's no one like me in my family. There's no one like me in my friends I just feel like there's something seriously wrong. And everyone's telling me there's something wrong. They're saying, Darren, if you could just control your drinking, you'd be okay. Well, my boss said to me once, he said, Darren, there's two types of people in this world. There's people who can drink and there's people who can't. I want you to know that you're clearly in the second category. But no one ever gave me a solution to that. They just told me I should stop or moderate. And I didn't know how to do either. I eventually got to that place that I think we all get to. I eventually got to that place of my initial surrender. And at the ripe old age of 21, I fell to my knees in my parents' backyard and tears streaming out of my face with that guttural scream. And I don't know what the exact words were, but it was something like, I've had enough. I want off this planet. Yeah. I didn't know that I needed to stop drinking necessarily. I just wanted it to end. I had enough. And leading up to this, there were many signposts along the way, many signposts along the way. A few months earlier, someone had told me that maybe Alcoholics Anonymous could help, and I rang the local office of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I got a meetings list. I wrote it down on a piece of paper. This is long before mobile phones or meetings lists on the internet. And I wrote down a few meetings, and I recall writing down the Friday night meeting in my local town and making a commitment to myself that I would go. And it was a Monday or a Tuesday, and I did what we do. I got very, very, very drunk for 3 or 4 days to say goodbye to my absolute best friend. Alcohol was always there. It always made me feel good. It always took away the pain. Whenever a girl left or I got sacked or whatever, alcohol was always there. And I said goodbye to alcohol. And like many of us, I woke up on that Friday afternoon very green. I won't go into details, but I was extremely sick from alcohol poisoning, and I made the decision that I'd just stay home. That's got to be just as good as one of those dumb AA meetings. Yeah. My mind changed. Yeah. I was clear I was going to that meeting, and then, when it came time to come, my mind made an excuse for why I didn't need to go. And I said, I'll just stay home. That's got to be just as good as one of those dumb AA meetings. And I went back to bed early and turned on the little TV set that I had, and on came a TV show called Beverly Hills 90210. Some of you might remember it from the early 90s. And the main character had a car accident, drunk, in his mum's station wagon. And his best friend said, "Come with me. I'm going to take you to a place that can help." And I can remember it like it was yesterday, sitting in that bed watching this black and white little, 12-inch TV screen. And the two characters, Dylan and Brandon, they pushed their way through these double doors into like a basketball court, indoor basketball court. And inside was an AA meeting. And the banners were on the wall and the Serenity Prayer was on the wall, and they all held hands and they opened the meeting. They said the Serenity Prayer, and then the chairperson asked the first person to speak, and I don't know who it was. Let's say it was John. John said, "Hi, my name's John. I'm an alcoholic." And then the credits started to roll and the TV show ended. And man, I can remember looking at that TV. This is the exact moment I'm meant to be in my first AA meeting, the exact moment that local Friday night meeting was on. And I can remember looking at that screen going, just chin on my chest going, holy smokes. Tell me there's no God. Tell me there's no higher power in this universe. A few weeks later, I was with my family doctor and I told him the whole truth. The absolute whole truth. I told him how much I was drinking, what I was thinking. And he said, "Have you tried Alcoholics Anonymous?" And I said, "No. I think there's something wrong with my head." But this man of science, this man of medicine was the first person to ever really recommend Alcoholics Anonymous as the solution. He got me a referral to a local psychiatrist, and I went and told that man the whole story. And he said, "Darren, to be clear, you've got some problems, but I think your biggest problem is you're a garden variety alcoholic. Have you tried Alcoholics Anonymous?" This is the second man of science, of medicine, within a few days, to tell me pretty much that he didn't have the answer for what was wrong with me. He said, "Are you willing to stop drinking?" I said, "I'm willing to do anything." He said, "Well, why don't we check you into the local detox?" I didn't know what detox meant. I said yes anyway, because I'm male. I don't know how to ask questions. A few days later, I'm walking into the local detox unit. And I don't know how you went to your first meeting or your first exposure to any kind of help, but I couldn't get to you. I was just so afraid. I hated myself to the core, and I thought you all could see how awful I was, how much of a lowest of the low type person I was. I thought you could see it in my eyes or something. I thought you could see into my soul. And I couldn't get to you. And when I arrived at that detox, I had the smallest little sports bag with a couple of pieces of clothing. It was pretty much everything that I owned. And in my left hand, I had my mum's hand, because I just couldn't get to you. I hated myself that much. I couldn't get to you. And in I walked, and I took the 20 questions, and you know, we know the story. You know, I scored a perfect score. "Congratulations," they said, "perfect score. You're a garden variety alcoholic. We're going to admit you into the unit today, and we're going to sit with you over the next 7 to 10 days while alcohol leaves your system. We're going to look after you physically, but we can't fix what's wrong with you. We can't fix what's wrong with you. We're going to take you to the most successful organisation on the planet for fixing people with alcoholism. We're going to take you to Alcoholics Anonymous. This is the third set of medical people, scientists, within a couple of weeks to tell me the truth. Thank heavens they told me the truth. And they did exactly that. They put me on the animal bus, on the druggy buggy, and they brought me to you. And I can remember getting out of that van on that Thursday night, and you all came running out to greet us like it was Christmas morning. You know, you all came running out, oh, they're here, and they came running out, and you grabbed us up and you brought us in. And there was a lovely older lady who locked eyes with me, and it was like she enveloped me in her love. And she just looked me right in the eyes and said, welcome. Welcome home. Come on in from out of the cold. We've been waiting for you. And I went into that meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous that night, and you all stood up and you shared your stories. It was about 7 or 8 people shared what it was like, what happened, and what it was like now. And at the end of that meeting, I knew I was home. I knew I'd found my tribe. The beginning of that meeting, I knew in my heart of hearts that I was the lowest of the low, lower than a snake's belly, the last, the lost, and the least. And at the end of that meeting, I'd found my tribe. What a beautiful thing. You encouraged me to keep coming through thick and thin. You probably said a whole lot more than that, but that's all I can remember. And I thought the recovery program was keep coming to as many meetings as you can and keep coming to as many meetings as you can and don't drink. That's what I heard. Maybe that was all I was ready to hear. And if you're anything like me, you know where this is heading. I tried my hardest, guys. I went to as many meetings as I can. I was on bail for my 3rd, 4th and 5th DUI. I had a pending court date. I went back to court. I got sentenced to 12 months weekend jail, which is a thing in Australia. They put you in jail for the weekend. It's like a taste test. I drank at 34 days sober. I redoubled all my efforts. I gritted my teeth. I clenched my fists. I tried even harder. And I drank at 56 days. I shook it off. I did even more meetings. Now I'm doing like 3 meetings a week. I redoubled my efforts. I clenched my teeth even harder. I clenched my fists, and I knew I was going to stay sober. I knew it in my heart of hearts that if I just tried hard, I'd stay sober. And I got my absolute world's record. Absolute world's record. 9.5 months sober, and I drank again. I drank again. Again. And after a couple of days, I rang that guy. We've all got that guy or girl in the home group. You know who they are. If you knew, they're the ones that you don't want to talk to. They're the ones that talk about this book. They're the ones that we don't really want to go and approach. We're afraid of them. And I rang that guy. And he said, Darren, I'm happy to share with you what I think your problem is, if you're open to hear it. I said, yeah, man, I'm open. He said, Darren, you've been practicing the DD program, my initials. I said, oh, Pete, what's that? He said, I don't know what the hell it is, but it ain't AA. What you need to do is the AA program. And that didn't make much sense, but it was a bit funny. And he said, well, let me ask you this. Why did you drink again? I said, Pete, I honestly don't know. I really don't know. And it was like the line went blank. It was like, you know, there was a blackout or something. And I said, Pete, are you there, Pete? The line was blank. Pete, hello, Pete. And he said, oh, sorry, man, I passed out. I said, oh, are you okay? He goes, yeah, I'm okay. It's the first time we've heard you say, I don't know. And that hit me. That hit me hard. I realized that I wasn't open. I wasn't going to be able to learn everything while I remained an I know guy. Every time you said anything, I went, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. You need to do more meetings. Yeah, I know. Yeah. You need to get a sponsor. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And that day I became teachable. He said, I want you to get a group, find a sponsor, and get to work on the 12-step program of recovery from alcoholism. There is no other suggested program of recovery in Alcoholics Anonymous. And that message sunk in for the first time. I got busy. I joined a group. I got a sponsor. I got a commitment at the home group. I got to work on the 12 steps of recovery. And thank heavens, eventually I was approached by a man who was properly armed with facts about himself, and he took me through not only the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, but also the 12 and 12. And I started to learn. I started to grow in understanding and effectiveness. You know, he took me through the first step in the big book, and we started to talk about what alcoholism was or is. And I learned a great deal of information from that man, vital information. He talked about the allergy. And I can still remember when that word popped off that page, I just went, man, it's not an allergy. I know what an allergy is. I've got one. I've got a bee sting allergy. I've been stung by bees. I know exactly what an allergy is. And when I get stung, I don't go running down the street looking for the beehive to stick my head in it. Oh, I need some more bee stings. I run the other way. This thing isn't an allergy because whenever I drink, I run to it. And he said, well, why don't we see what the dictionary says about this word allergy rather than just make it up? And I went, okay, let's do that. And he was an AA DAG. So he pulled off his shelf a 1937 dictionary, and he explained that, if you really want to know what they meant in 1937 when they read that book, why don't you get a 1937 dictionary? I still haven't followed that advice. I've got a 1995 dictionary, and this is what it says. Allergy, a physical hypersensitivity to certain things, especially food, which are harmless to others. He said, do you think that you're hypersensitive to this drug, ethyl alcohol? And I went, yeah, man. I'm very sensitive to that thing. And how that allergy plays out for me is every time I drink, I get an insatiable desire for more. I can't turn it off. I've never once been able to turn it off. It's as though someone sneaks in the middle of the night and installs an industrial-sized vacuum cleaner in my stomach, and the first drink turns on the on switch. I don't know where the off switch is. I've never found it. Whenever I take the first drink, I can't stop. We went on and he talked about the mental obsession. He said, if it was just that, we'd make a decision to stop and never drink again. I said, well, that didn't work for me. I drank 3 more times. And he told a story about how he made a promise to his family about how he was never going to drink again and by about 5 o'clock, something changed in his head. It was as though something had commandeered his thinking, convinced him to drink against his own will, used his own voice against him. He thought it was himself changing his mind, and he drank again against his will. And when he described it like that, I identified, man, I knew what he had, I had, because I'd been there time and time and time again. I knew that I had this mental obsession for alcohol. And an obsession, if we look that word up, says a thought that outweighs all others. It's my belief today that my alcoholic thinking, my obsession for drinking, is the loud voice up here, and it gets so loud that I can't hear my inner conscience, my inner voice, the real me, that's crying out to never drink again. This thing just gets so loud. And what drives this? is the spiritual malady. Yeah. The me thinking about what you think about me. The self-pity, the shame, the resentment, the fears. Yeah. Indeed, I'm convinced that there's a perpetual motion machine up here. Guys, if you want to make some money after I'm dead, get them to cut this thing open. There's one in there, and this is what sets it off. Me thinking about me. Woo, it boots it up every time. Whoop, 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 and I can't shut it down. Yeah. I need the program of recovery from alcoholism to shut it down. Otherwise, I'll start thinking again. I'll start thinking about drinking. And when I start thinking about drinking, I'm only one step away from drinking. So I need a solution. In our second step, Bill tells us what the solution is. He tells us that a higher power is the solution to our insane thinking. And the last 10 steps are the program of action. Thank heavens for Carl Jung, who told us what the solution is, and for Frank Bookman and the Oxford Group for helping Bill and others in the Oxford Group to start the actions of the program of recovery. I apologise for all this information about step one, but it's my belief that the information is essential. I can't take the first step unless I have the information. It's a little bit like, Ralph and I decide that we're going to have rabbit stew for dinner tonight. Yeah? I say to Ralph, you go get the rabbit and I'm going to start cutting up the veggies, right? And Ralph's never seen a rabbit before. So he gets the gun off the shelf, he heads down to the back paddock and he starts shooting at stuff. I'll guarantee you he's coming home with a raccoon, a possum, or a small baby. He's never seen a rabbit. He doesn't know what he's shooting at. We need to know what we're shooting at here. I need to know what alcoholism is. I need to have a thorough first step experience. And for me, that was the greatest gift that man gave me, a thorough first step experience. And I apologise for the diatribe about step one because by itself, it's worthless. Self-knowledge can't fix me. But it's the application of the information that leads to the transformation, isn't it, Ralph? I need the information, but I need the application of the 12-step program of recovery to get the transformation. And that's what we got here in Alcoholics Anonymous. The big promise here is a spiritual awakening. Yeah? A spiritual awakening. And a lot of people get hung up in steps 2 and 3, as I did for the longest time. I got really hung up with that G word. I got really hung up with this word spiritual. It's like, do we need to sit in prayer circles and, wear funny clothes and start making om noises or something? My sponsor gave me another great gift. He said, well, let's have a look at this word enthusiasm, because it means God within. To be enthusiastic about life. To want to get out there and giggle your butt off having fun in life. To be filled with a spirit for joy, passion, is to have a God living within you. That's the promise here in Alcoholics Anonymous, to be woken up to a full life, rather to be locked inside like I'd always been in self-pity, shame, self-hatred. And it was about that time that I was introduced to the concept of the spirit of the universe, the force from Star Wars. I really liked that. One guy said, I want you to walk down into the ocean at low tide and stand there and see if you can hold back the ocean. You'll find out that the ocean's a power greater than you. One guy came to a meeting on step 3 and he talked about how the number 426 bus was his higher power. And I don't know about you, but I sort of went, cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. And he explained it. He said, that bus, I catch that bus home every night. It goes past 9 hotels without stopping. It's something that I can't do. It's a power greater than me. I just need to start the journey of seeking. However small those footsteps are along that journey, it doesn't matter, but I've got to start that journey, start praying to something. And we got to work cleaning house, and the greatest gift in that cleaning house section of our program is that all of my resentments got turned into amends. All of my resentments got turned into amends. I found out that 95% of them, the reason why I resented them was because I needed to keep blaming them for everything that was wrong in my life to cover up all the things that I ever did to them, to hide the truth. Because I'm not very good at self-honesty. And like my friend Ralph and others I see on the call here, Ben especially, I know this is true for you, my friend. I saw steps 10 and 11, and I just went, that's for the really sick people. I don't really need those steps. And I got busy helping God's kids. Got busy in the information of our book, trying to carry this message and getting busy in Alcoholics Anonymous, and stayed sober regardless. Yeah, I got to stay sober regardless of the fact that I was very imperfect in my application of the 12 steps. I got to stay sober anyway. How cool is that? How cool is that? And I started to live life. Got a job back, got busy, got married really early. Girl meets boy on AA campus, gets pregnant really early. Couldn't work out what the hell happened. We just got pregnant. Took my sponsor to explain it. He said, are you using contraception? I said, no. He said, well, that's how it works. I went, oh, okay. And we were presented at 6 months pregnant with a stillbirth, 5 years sober. Got pregnant again. 5 months sober, 5 months pregnant, and presented with another stillbirth. A few months after that, she left. And I started hating on God. I started hating on you. Fortunately, I kept coming. I don't know why. I stopped talking. I stopped helping others, but I just kept coming. And you all just kept coming around. You wouldn't leave me alone. And you loved me back to life yet again. And it was about a year or so after that I actually felt like the grief was over. And, by this time I'm sort of 7, 8 years sober. And I've had, everything that happens to people over about that length of time happened to me, and I haven't needed to drink. And I'm working out that this miracle of recovery is happening for me too, that I'm getting to stay sober through thick and thin. I eventually went back through the book, and those steps that were for the really sick people, 6, 7, 10 and 11, started to come to life. I started to understand more about spirit, more about ego, more about how my defects of character play out, more about how I'm still my worst enemy today. More about how I'm still trying to portray to you how good I am so that you'll like me. Why? Because I still hate myself. "10 years sober, I still hate myself." It was completely dishonest because what I was hating was my ego, and I didn't even know the real me yet. I just hated how I was out there in the world. So I had to continue to be something else. Yeah. But I never gave up. I knew there was nothing else out there for me. I just kept coming. I eventually met Jody. We're on a convention committee together. And I remember receiving that email from her inviting me onto the convention committee, and rang my sponsor, and he answered the phone. I said, "Can I speak to your wife? I've got a question for your wife," who was also in AA. He put her on. I said, "I'm going to read you an email and I need to know whether you think she likes me or not." Because I got no idea, man. I got no idea. Yeah. I'm confident that if it wasn't for alcohol, I'd still be a virgin, right? Like, alcohol did everything for me. I'm sober. I find it really hard to do anything yet, right? I don't know whether girls are cracking onto me. I don't know nothing. So I read that email out, and Monique says, "Oh, I'm pretty sure she likes you." And I went, "Okay, let's join the convention committee." And off we roared, and started dating shortly thereafter, and found it really hard to have kids. Really, really hard to have kids, and we needed to go to IVF to have kids, and here I am back, yelling at God, thinking that it's because I'm worthless. It's because I'm the lowest of the low. It's because God doesn't like me. See, I told you God hates me. And forcing, with the help of a sponsor, myself through that process again. And eventually our firstborn, Archie, was presented, and parents out there, you know the story. You know the story, man. I was there in that hospital, and it's one of my favourite photos. Me bawling my eyes out, him bawling his eyes out because he's just born, the gift of being able to live this life, just to live life in this moment as me. And a few years later, Charlotte was born, and we got the perfect pigeon pair, and she's still my little princess. She turned 9 a couple of days ago, and what I'm trying to describe is that I get to have a normal life here in Alcoholics Anonymous. Through turning up and being busy serving you, all of my problems die of neglect, because they're not really problems anyway. They're all constructed by my ego to separate me from the now. They're all just up here. They don't exist. And while I'm busy serving you, I can't think about myself because I'm too busy having fun serving you. I'm too busy down the home group talking to the newcomers, listening to their heads. Whoop, 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 whoop. And, I even still say things like, "It'll be okay." And then internally I say, actually, everything's already okay if I can be in the now. If I can just be in the now. I've probably got 10 or so minutes left, and I don't often talk about me. I don't often talk about, I know that's what we're meant to do in these meetings when we're asked to share our story. I just find it hard. I've been brought up in Alcoholics Anonymous to stop talking about me. Yeah. So I find it really, really hard. I want you to know that I feel really grateful for the life that I've been gifted here in Alcoholics Anonymous. Really, really grateful today for the friends that I have, for the life that I've been gifted. For 9,300 years at least. And today we know that to be about the time that we first started crushing grapes. For 9,300 years, there hasn't been a solution for what we've got. And for the last 85 years, we've had a solution. And I'm grateful that I've been born in that last 85 years. And I hope you're grateful. I hope that goes on your gratitude list tonight, that you were born post-1935, because I'm grateful for that today. I still have a problem today trying to work out what the future holds. I know none of you do. I know you're all recovered from that. But as my sponsor tells me, it's not my job to know, it's my job to know the knower, to keep seeking. As I said, the truth is that there are no problems. My ego's with me forever. I have to learn how to live with it. I was at a conference in 2010 where there were some amazing presentations of these 12 steps, and there was one gentleman from Los Angeles who shared about meditation. And I remember approaching him afterwards, and I'm 15, 16 years sober, and saying there was something you said that really struck me about meditation. And he said, well, how are you going with meditation? I said, good. And the intonation in my voice going up sort of led him to believe that I wasn't being completely honest. And he said, does that mean you're not doing any? I said, yes. And he said, it's my belief that the day that I found out that I wasn't my thinking mind, my whole life changed. Have you got 5 minutes? I'll show you what I mean. And we sat down and he showed me how to meditate. And he said, I want you to just focus on your breath. Close your eyes, start breathing in and out, and I want you to think about nothing else except for the feeling of that breath on your nose. And every time your mind starts thinking, I want you to put your hand up, and I'm going to talk you through bringing your mind back to focus on only your breath until your mind quietens down, and then I want you to put your hand back down. And we did that 4 or 5 times. And at the end, he said, how did you know to put your hand up? How did you know when you'd started thinking? I went, well, because my mind started thinking. Oh, okay. Well, how did you know that your mind stopped thinking? I said, well, because it stopped thinking. He goes, well, did you think that it stopped thinking, or did you just know that you stopped thinking? And it was that day I realized that I have a watcher installed in my gut. Call it your conscience, call it whatever you want. But it was that day I realized that I'm not my thinking mind. That there's 2 people that live within me, my ego and my spirit. And it's my job for the rest of my life to grow my spirit up, to continue to seek God's will for me, and to continue to be out there in the world and live a principled life, as I've learned here in Alcoholics Anonymous. To continue to grow in understanding and effectiveness, as our book suggests. That I'm never going to get perfect, but I have to stay in the solution and try to aim towards perfection, as Bill writes in our 12 and 12. When he wrote the big book, he wrote Progress, Not Perfection, which is a let out of jail free card, right? I don't have to be perfect, woohoo! And then in our 12 and 12, he says that we need to have our eyes towards perfection, that we should aim toward perfection, that it's a continual growth. And that's the job today. How do I do that? That's a whole 3-hour talk in itself. Bill wrote in the Grapevine lots, and find as many of those as you can and devour them. They're great assets. But there was an essay he wrote in 1958. I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs. I don't like to read stuff out, but I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs. Sometimes when friends tell us how well we're doing, we know better on the inside. We know we ain't doing well enough. We still can't handle life as life is. There must be a serious flaw somewhere in our spiritual practice and development. And that's me at times. What then is it? The chances are better than even that we shall locate our trouble in our misunderstanding or neglect of AA's step 11, prayer, meditation, and the guidance of God. The other steps can keep most of us sober and somehow functioning, but step 11 can keep us growing. If we try hard and work at it, here's that word, continually. I don't like that word very much. I want to rest on my laurels. I want to attain a certain amount of peace and harmony and then get on the couch, remote control, ice cream, bag of crisps, and enjoy it. The problem is it lasts for about 3 days and I'm back in my head. I've got to continue to be out there on the firing line, hunting for drunks, doing my best to serve God's kids. Otherwise, my ego is going to take control again and start running my life. Yeah. Every morning I try and drop into spirit and remember what my job is. I work for God today. I work for the higher power. I try to remember that ego's greatest fear is that it will become superfluous. It doesn't care whether it's telling me that I'm better than you. It doesn't care whether it's telling me that I'm a loser. It just wants me to listen to it because it's afraid that it will become superfluous. It's not the real me. Yeah. I need to finish up. Yesterday I was down at my daughter's baseball team playing under 10s baseball, and I'm their coach this year and having so much fun. I'm not a very good baseball coach, but I'm the enthusiastic baseball coach, man. I'm yelling, great catch, run faster, great work. I'm that really loud guy on the sidelines that some people don't necessarily like, but I love it. It's filling my spirit up, and I got to enjoy that. And then shortly afterwards, they had some awards for last year's season, and I coached my son's baseball team, and I got, in my first year coaching, got given an award for the best baseball coach of the club in my first year coaching. And I got to tell you guys, it's not because I know much about baseball or that I'm a very good coach. It's because I'm down there loving it, and everyone can see it, and the kids can see it, and they're loving their baseball because of it. Yeah. We don't get sober to create AA orphans. I'm not 6 million hours a week AA. I believe it's my job to get sober so that I can live that life I was always meant to live. Yeah. And yes, I need to reserve many hours a week for AA. Otherwise, I won't get to keep it. Yeah. Why? To circle back on that first piece of information, there's a drink with my name on it. It's out there in the car park. Yeah, it's waiting for me. What's it waiting for? It's waiting for me to stop doing these things, to stop practicing 10, 11, and 12, to stop seeking. I love analogies, and there's, the movie The Matrix, which was filmed in Sydney. If any of you want to know what Sydney looks like, go and watch The Matrix again. And there's a couple of great analogies in that film. There's a scene where Agent Smith has Neo by the head, and they're waiting for a train to come to kill Neo. And Agent Smith says, inevitability. And it's my belief that it's inevitable that I'm going to drink again. I need to do everything I can to push that drink out in front of me, because I can't keep me from drinking again. It's inevitable that I will drink if I don't do this stuff. If I don't take action grounded in our solution, alcoholism will take action on me. Alcoholism is fatal whether I'm drinking or not. I can't get so sober that I won't drink again. Just being sober today doesn't guarantee I'll be sober tomorrow unless I do what I need to do. Recently, as is, what happens to me occasionally, I'll get into self-pity and start bagging myself out and beating myself up. And I'm a self-pity guy, I'll admit it, and I can get into self-pity. And I rang my sponsor and told him how I wasn't doing so well. And he said, stop. Just stop. It's my job to provide you with feedback. I said, all right, Bob, I'm open to feedback. He said, Darren, you're right on time. You're right on track. You're already enough. You don't need to become any more than you already are. There's absolutely nothing missing. God loves you exactly the way you are, perfectly imperfect. God doesn't make junk. It's arrogant and impolite of you to resent God's handiwork. It's my belief, Darren, that God's already forgiven you for everything. It's time you accept that forgiveness. Accept that forgiveness. I believe that God's got a photo of me on his fridge, just like he's got a photo of you all on his fridge, because we're all God's kids. We're all God's kids, and God loves us equally. The process of recovery is the process of subtraction, not addition. I don't need to become anything more to be okay. You don't need to change for me to be okay. While I keep pointing the finger at you and blaming you for all of my problems, I'm going to stay locked up forever. I have to turn up to this life as the real me. Why? Because everyone else is already taken. It assumes to be true what Eminem has been telling us for a few years now. Will the real Slim Shady please turn up? I got to step up as me, as the real me in this moment. There is nothing else. There is no yesterday. There is no tomorrow. there's only now. Both of those alternative worlds are fabrications of my ego, designed to separate me from now. It's the only place that I can actually be. It's the only place where God resides. It's the only place where I can be with my kids and giggle and tickle them and throw them doing bombs in the swimming pool, is in the now. It's where serenity lives. It's where peace lives. It's where I get to every morning by leveraging meditation and some great readings from mystics, from AA literature. But I need to practice the 12-step program of recovery from alcoholism first. I need to be recovered, and I need to start seeking. So if there's anyone new or near you here on the meeting tonight, I want to welcome you to Alcoholics Anonymous. Welcome home. This is the place where miracles happen. This is the place where I get to live the life I was always meant to live. So get right into the middle of your home group of Alcoholics Anonymous. The wolves can't pick off the sheep in the middle. The wolves pick off the boundary riders, the lame boundary riders. So get right into the middle. Get a sponsor and get to work on those 12 steps. And please have some fun. Remember Rule 62. I should be giggling my butt off in this place because I've recovered. It's not about getting serious and telling everyone they're doing it wrong. It's about having fun. God within, enthusiasm, passion, joy. So jump on the pony, hold on real tight, kick like hell because you're in for the ride of your life. If you're an alcoholic, Alcoholics Anonymous is the greatest show on earth. Thank you again to the group for having me come out. I want to wish you all a very happy and Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year. And God bless you all. Thanks.